And the third game between Spot the Odd One Out and the Jungle Lions is second home map of the Jungle Lions and is going to be played out on Vinlandsaga. It has been a map also, we have seen it in semifinals number 1 in the other teams, but right now we are seeing yet again switch in this lineup as Temista is being replaced by Count von Count and is going to be playing Oranos. T2 sticking with Oranos right now, who is also, yeah, he was really missing from the previous game. He was. So yeah, I was correct. Actually, Earth was making a replacement in there. Instead of someone, it was instead of T2, but this time T2 is coming back. Earth is staying as set, so double Oranos set against Arafan as Loki, and Kimo and Brenos are going to be switching from Ras into Oranos and Kronos. Interesting civilizations all around. So let's start with the third game in here. Well, of course, we are looking at an unusual map that usually isn't played, or rather, isn't played all that often. You can see it in RTS League basically just only. It's not played in normal games from as far as I know. So it's looking like this. You are having all the little islands where the players are starting, but they are quite soon forced to move onto the big land because it is rich in resources not only in hand and gold and tree line, but also on town centers, and that's exactly what all the games are all about. Of course, we are also having a lot of fishes all across the map for all of the players, of course. So that's something not to underestimate at all, and we are already seeing that players are moving ahead and trying to transport oracles so that they can scout as fast as possible and as effectively as possible. Earth is also going as set with the animal and with the priest to convert a few of the animals. There are of course a few traps on the mainland, like Skrelings for example, and these dudes, they are just going to be pursuing you no matter what you do until they are killed, and they can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Are discovering them at a time when you didn't actually want to. Looking at the DC placement, well, right now we have ARFs plus Chemo at the top, aka Jungle Lions. They seem to be having a bit less DCs, but it doesn't really matter all that much because it's all about the early game, and in the early game they should be pretty much fine, especially since I would be expecting they will be landing about the right side and going for the TC, whereas the Shifting Sands guy will be going probably for TC like this, or the one at the back, and trying to basically try boom a bit, but really it's all about the early game. All about the early game, so the TCs shouldn't be mattering as much as some players tend to think. Because even though if you are able to capture TC soon, they don't really help you in the early game at all. They're basically counterproductive if you are having too many TCs in the early game because you just cannot manage them and you usually fall into the trap of making villages from them, which means you have absolutely no resources for military and sometimes not even for all of those villages. So yep, you have to be careful what you wish for as far as gathering town centers go. So far looking kinda okayish with the fishing department, as we are already seeing Temple being dropped by Brenos on his main island. But he's Kronos, so he doesn't mind all that much, but Oranos should be really transporting, and we are also expecting that Arafang should be transporting as well. He is already having the Ulsar on the mainland, and yep, the docks from him and from the Oranos will definitely be built on the mainland, and you can exactly see that's going to happen from Kimo, who is transporting one of the citizens on the other side of the water. Quite interested in conquering this part of the map, as we are going to be looking at Earth, who is also having a few villages on the other side already, or not. No, not yet, but it's going to be a reality with at least one of those who is coming for the temple, and let's hope for him that it's going to be enough and he's not going to be caught up some kind of shenanigans from the opponents, or maybe even from the Skrelings. T2 just now dropping also on the temple, so basically playing the same. Right now both of them, as Count von Count is still not really arriving on the opponent's side of the map, as he has opted for a temple on his side and will be waiting, rather hoping for a bit more effective advance time, and that's not a bad idea, because if he can prevent some TC gathering from his opponents, that will definitely be worthwhile for his team, and even losing the temple being on the other side of the map, he can still transport the unit, so not really that much of a problem. But of course we'll have to be careful about potential water fights that might be coming up from the Jungle Lions on their side. So Prometheus 36, whereas of course for Count von Count is basically half a minute earlier because he didn't transport the villager, whereas Earth is still not coming through. But well, he is going for extra docks, so he's definitely interested in making the most out of the water economy, which is a good idea, because yet again, there are a lot of fishes all across the map, especially for an Egyptian who can basically place docks with fishing boats all across the shoreline and have such a strong economy. Yep, that's why Egyptians are not that bad on this map. So that's the construction, of course, on Earth. And is it gonna cost him? Not really. It doesn't cost him advancing to the next age, and it probably is not going to be costing him even the mythical unit. If he's careful enough. Let's see. He does have a priest as protection, but well, probably not going to be finishing with it soon enough, so he's probably gonna give up on it. Doesn't really matter all that much, as he's probably going to be shifting a whole lot of villages on the other side of the map soon enough. But we are looking that, even though we thought that Count for Count could be doing a good job with the faster advance as far as stalling of his enemies goes, it seems like that it's actually going the other way around, and Brenos together with Chemo are the ones having the upper hand and stopping their opponents in their tracks. Temple being right now finished for Earth, with the shift in sands and going for the TC as well, so of course he's setting himself up with both barracks and well, yep, right next to the relic, which is for better villager hit points. 40% better villager hit points, which means that those guys in yellow will be very hard to deal with. Very, very hard. In the meantime, of course, since they are seen because of the spy, what's happening in here, they are looking to disrupt this. But of course, with the Pharaoh empowering and such, they have absolutely no chance to be faster. Rather fast enough, and we are also looking that Titu is also nicely ready right about now with Count von Count setting himself up on the left side of the island and finally supplying some army into the fight also. So we are right now looking at basically a clear situation where the Jungle Lions will be attempting to go into this part of the map. And basically all the fighting is going to be happening in here, which is a pretty nice gameplay from them, because they will be kinda stealing this TC from their opponents, and even attempting to do this with this one. Probably not going to be all that easy. Now looking at Titus' army. Yep, probably will have to be happy with just this one TC, but that should be pretty much enough, because this will be basically making up for the potential disadvantage of the TTs at the back that are probably going to be coming into Earth's power as the game goes by. Well, some Relic 42 for better Archer Ballista and Cairo Ballista attack. Pretty great one, especially he's going to be attempting to switch into some Cairo Ballista. As right now, Brenos has lost his temple and will be forced into a bit more of a defensive, because Titu is playing this so well. You can see he's having such a big army, much bigger than the opponents basically combined, and that's not good news for the Jungle Lions. Even though they are still having pretty good economy on the water, they are probably getting raided by Count. I have seen that a bit earlier. They exactly are, as Count is the only one fighting for it, as we don't see any extra boats from the opponents, who are still just kinda unaware of what's going on. Only Brenos is paying a bit more attention and trying to at least slow Count down. In the meantime, of course, Earth is doing exactly what we said a bit earlier, and to build the docks on the side of the map, make use of all the fishies, as we are looking also at a bit of a vision, so that he sees as much as possible on the right side and knows where the opponent is and what he is doing with potentially the town centers. We are right now looking at a pretty hard battle in Brenos' base and of course Kimos, as they are both having basically mutual base and common base. But with Titus' army and, well, oh well, there is a trap developing quite nicely. Brenos from top, whereas Kimo with Rafa are going from the bottom. Oh well, this is well played. This is very well played and pretty huge disaster for Titu, because he was the one for spot the other one out with the biggest army. Right now he's going to be losing all of it. He's basically running away with basically half that Prometheans, but otherwise, oh man, this was super crucial, and this might be actually something that they might use to jump back from into the game, even though Earth is also quite nicely ready. And I would be expecting that Count would be ready quite soon as well. Doing pretty decent army already, even though he is fighting on the water and basically trying to make sure that the economies of their opponents are dead as soon as possible, and that's working quite nicely in absolutely all three economies, and that's super important, because it will mean that the echo of the opponent should be lagging. behind quite soon, as opposed to spot one out. For the TC, that's T2. That's going to be second for one, as the opponent's armies are arriving in the battlefield. But unfortunately for them, T2 is still having at least a few units. But much more importantly, Earth is quite nicely ready, and the construction coming up from Brenos, which has been cast on the dock as he is trying to raid as many boats and as many fishing spots of their opponents as he can somehow make up for the losses, the water economy for them. Reinforcements coming in, so pretty big battle right now going to be happening with all basically important dot powers being off. So we are gonna be waiting for Earth to either go for 30C or maybe into Heroic. Potentially would be better to go Heroic for the Ancestors and for the Migdol. But the Shockwaves lying around. Earth still having pretty good presence together with Count. And even though T2 is slightly lessening in numbers, still this battle is not that bad. They were basically just waiting for the TC to come up, and right now I'm thinking they should be retreating back right next to the TC for the extra fire, because this is not a position where spot the other one out should be winning the game, because they are slowly but surely losing as the army fighting just better right now from the Jungle Lions. And they are right now managing to basically divide the armies of JSS. Yeah, this is basically full on JSS right now. With the player not playing in this game, and that's looking not good all that much for them, because of course the push is pretty strong, and let's see if they can make something happen out of this, the Jungle Lions, because they are right now in a pretty important spot in the game, and if they can maybe even take down a TC, they could be really halfway into somehow securing the victory on this map. But let's not be too hasty, as Count for Count is going for a back TC. And apparently not enough food for Earth, as he's building yet another barracks and armory. So he is thinking about the Heroic Age. But of course doesn't have enough resources yet. And now where is the battle? At the bottom. And we can also see a bit of exodus from T2's citizens, because this place is no longer safe. And he's definitely recognizing that this battle is slowly being lost by them. And the Jungle Lions are pushing very nicely right into the middle of their opponent's hearts. Okay, Robaliste, definitely good idea. Idea indeed to get rid of absolutely everything, and I'm kind of thinking that these guys might be wanting to run a bit further, like for example into this tree line, because it's still not safe at all. You can see interesting scouting by the Oracle heroes from Brenos, so he's seen absolutely everything that is happening in there. Switching to Brenos, doing pretty decent line of sight on the gold, because it's very important for Egyptians, of course, so he's waiting in there, laying in the wait or what is going to come from them. And you can see that right now Arvs together with Kimo are just moving forward quite relentlessly. And the situation, even though it looked very nicely for JSS at the start, it's basically trying to turn sour. All from the moment where T2 lost basically his whole army to being outmaneuvered by the opponents, and that was really nicely played by the Jungle Lions, and it's still paying dividends so far. So they are probably going to be finishing with the TC coming down, which will put T2 to just one, and exactly going to be turning into what we were expecting a bit earlier, with them controlling the bottom TCs, basically making up for the potential problems with the TCs at the top, which are right now being captured by Earth. And even though there is still the spy, so the opponents know they cannot really send anything in there. Yeah, pretty risky gold mining, and Earth is right now going to be at 4 TCs. And we will be expecting a whole lot of booming from him, and the game is probably going to be on his shoulders quite a lot. And let's see if he's going to be ready. Take that load on. Barracks up, armory also. So let's switch into Earth. Somehow ready into Heroic. Well, not really. He does have enough food, but he doesn't have the gold, like at all. Doesn't be gathering gold anywhere. Just probably just going with all the gold miners for the TCs. Right now going for basically full-on economy boom, but well, of course that does bring some risk with it, like not having enough quality units, and quality units are usually for Egyptian in the Heroic Age, which is definitely something that he needs to reach sooner rather than later, because Kimon together with Brenos and Arafat are already basically inside his base, and they are really knocking on the door very much. Finally, Mason's coming up, which is definitely going to be helping Earth, as he needs to keep his buildings alive as much as possible. As long as possible, especially as far as the TC goes. And the rising number of those Cairo Ballista is getting quite scary right now for JSS. Because of course they are having the splash effect, and it's working wonders for them as they are able to kill even the slingers, basically absolutely anything that is so far being thrown at them. T2 so far doesn't have really all that much of a presence. He's just basically rebuilding himself at the back, going for Sky Passage from where to where? Not sure, but interestingly enough, Earth is right now switching into basically the opposite side of the map. Not exactly sure how he found his way in there. Through transport. Ah yeah, somebody wasn't paying enough attention on the water. So he is going to be attempting to basically steal a TC from his opponents, which is a great idea, even though might be stopped. Because they should know something is happening in there, and they already are, because Arafan is paying attention and is sending Hersirs to put a stop to this kind of nonsense. But those three still could be coming at least to the top, and you can see yet again the transport, and they are taking TC at the top, and really, Earth is right now a bit of a pain in the ass for his opponent, most definitely, as he is also going through Neftis. They seem to have stopped the attack, but stopped, not all that sure. Just look at the huge amount of Cairo Ballistae. Don't really remember when last time I saw this. As Brenos is right now attempting to take a second TC. Second is going to be coming up for the red player as well. It's already the third, actually. There is a TC hidden in there. I almost missed it. And well, of course, Raiden by Kimo at the top on the gold miners as Earth is finishing with the TC and going to be attempting a TC in the middle, but yet again unsuccessfully because Arafat is still pursuing him and probably going to be trying to take a TC for himself as well, because he is exactly going to be needing that as he is just one, and we are at 15 minutes. Extra population will be needed sooner rather than later. Neft is coming up. A passage, of course, from this TC so that he can transport the villages on the mainland. Checking if somebody. Of course, is casting Ancestors right back. I was trying to see if maybe somebody is going for heroic age as well from the other players. So we are not really seeing anybody yet in the next age. Ancestors definitely mean that they need to retreat, and right now looking at the army, it's looking that T2 is also having a pretty decent one together with Count. And in combination with Earth's Ancestors, it's not half bad, and they need to really retreat, and might be even losing the TC because they don't have enough support from Arafan right now. Because Arafan is taking TCs in the middle, right now going to be at 3, as he has finished with both of them basically at once, and should be coming somewhere to the middle, because of course he's gonna get otherwise raided, as Count for Count is going to be fishing for a few villages to kill, and he is exactly fine in that. Yet TC nowhere close, just the one at the top is still not close. So getting rid of the Ox card is going to be working for him quite well. And we are also looking at Kimo right now at the top side, trying to control the remaining TCs and trying to make sure that his opponent is not having an easy time getting the gold on the mines all across the map. We are also seeing that basically the fight has moved from this position all the way across the map next to the front TC of Kimo. Definitely not something that the Jungle Lions would be wanting. And well, even though they don't really have enough push right now, they will be having pretty soon. Much more importantly, they have forced their opponents back and basically bought themselves extra time to set themselves up with the siege works, which is exactly which is going to be needed, or rather what is going to be needed for Earth to get rid of the town centers and supply some extra help in defense against the Cairo Ballistae, as siege towers are pretty good at that. Of course, a bit of fighting still on the water, as Arafang is still having some economy alive for much longer apparently, but a whole lot of it still. A whole lot of it still, but otherwise pretty strong economy on the left, so not any kind of reason to doubt that JSS should be having some big problems with holding this push from their opponents, especially since Earth has just now finished with a 6 TC. It was just this one right next to the Skylinks, and they are going to be making life a bit less easy. Now for Arafan, who is tailing a few Usarks in here himself. 45 town centers, so for Earth a lot of population right now. 220 as he's going through Horus. And he's almost popped on top of that. He's playing this quite well, as heroic ages are finally coming in with Braki and Teya. And we are also seeing some upgrades. No, not yet, interestingly enough. We are seeing just heavy slingers and copper shields, whereas for example for Kimo, we are looking at absolutely nothing. For Brenos, same case, also nothing, whereas there are some green guys. There are some green guys here. They are normal Usarks and also no upgrades, whereas Count is having as one of the next players to check out nothing. And the last one, Titu, who is right now fighting off the decent raiding by Arafan, is also having just copper shield, so not really anybody having any kind of strong upgrades at all. Yeah, this raiding is not going to be successful, even though he did kill at least a few of them. These a few villagers from yellow, but wasn't really successful all that much. As Titu is paying enough attention, and that means that at the top, how Count von Count is quite nicely establishing right next to Earth. This is really quite a threatening situation, because of course there's going to be pretty decent raiding happening, and the TC of Tandafang at the top is going to be targeted reasonably soon. Definitely good spot for raiding, where Count von Count was attempting to go. As we are looking at the pretty strong battle in the middle, as Earth is through Horus, and this might not be a bad placement for Tornado exactly, and he's taking, oh man, all those Cairo Ballistae for a flight. Oh, yeah, so that's goodbye basically a whole army of Brenos in one swing. And of course, this whole situation is gonna get pretty difficult, because Tornado is killing even the palace from the red player. Careful, because a bit of friendly fire is possible from Tornado. The TC is gonna come into the opponent's side, and it's looking like that it's gonna come for Earth, who is having a pretty huge army already. And with Kimo coming into Mythical Age, we are looking at Vortex, because he does want all the army at one spot, and he's having quite a lot of it. He was having a lot of army on the right side, and with the reinforcements from Brenos, he is definitely intent on somehow maybe even stopping the DC, much more importantly keeping Earth at bay. It's of course not going to be all that easy for him. In the meantime, of course, there's a bit of an attempt by Titu to establish himself in the middle, not only to protect the gold, but this is quite close to Arafang's DC, so he's going to be attempting to make some siege and also some destroyers to get rid of the DC and steal it for himself. Tartarian Gate right now cast. I'm not exactly sure where, I have kinda missed it. Ah, here at the bottom, alright. So basically to stop the gold mine, which is definitely a great idea, and something that needs to happen, and is, yep, something that forces another Kimo to go for it and get rid of it before the situation gets out of hand, which I think it's already getting, because it also means that he's going to be relinquishing his military buildings at the top and basically allowing the yellow player to go right next to his front DC, which just right now we have seen was upgraded into fortified. Military buildings coming up from Earth, or at least attempted, not really finished. As Count von Count is right now going to be forced to help quite a lot with the defense, because Arafang is going for pretty decent raiding with piggies and seems to be doing a pretty good job, especially with flaming weapons right now being cast. Yep, he's gonna be putting Earth to just 6 DCs, or rather 5 DCs. Maybe still 6, because he's probably gonna be finishing with the one at the bottom, as this one is just now down. And Arafang doing a pretty great job here. Really. So yep, just now 5 for Earth, 6 coming pretty soon. Whereas in the middle there's still not much happening, but Titu is basically preparing himself with another palace. And yep, exactly the fire siphon getting ready, but unfortunately he's housed because he's having just 1 DC, as he wasn't able to basically capture any one of those DCs, as all of those were basically taken by Earth, which might be a bit dangerous, because he's the only one with town centers, and even though he can use them for mercenaries, it basically means that his teammates are kinda useless. And looking at the army of just siege towers and slingers and a few axemen in here, there is some kind of axeman, or is it actually there's some axeman? Oh, no, there is, without any kind of upgrades, just coppers. And this, I don't really think this is such an optimal play, and even though it seems to be at least slightly working, you can see Arafan is right now at the top, trying to steal a TC and doing a pretty great job, even though he needs to be a whole lot more careful, because Count for Count is still very much present, even if it's just 2 TCs, and is disrupting the economy as much as he can, and he's doing a pretty great job at that. Right now, pretty nice traitor to help with the defense for Brenos, but probably wouldn't be enough, as basically just the sheer numbers of the units from Earth are too big, with the 7 town centers, and right now dropping even a Migdal. And well, this looks like a pretty good hill that could be potentially used for hill advantage, but probably not the players aware still. So Migdol, pretty important one down. Arafan right now through hell. So going to be casting his Nidhogg somewhere at the top and getting not only for the defense, as of course right now Tito is finally having enough population limit free for the 5 siphons to get rid of down centers. Much more importantly, these guys in the hole in here, when they spawn, are gonna be attempted to be fried by the Nidhogg, and they are definitely succeeding, and unfortunately he's gonna get a bit more extra stakes from the elves as well. Poor animals. Poor animals caught in the crossfire. But of course, a lot of extra damage will be dealt by the priest because Earth is having temple nearby and the town center as well, so not really all that big of a damage. Count for Count doing a pretty good job preventing the TT from coming into Arafang's hands. Heavy archive, not any kind of extra upgrades, but that's pretty much it, and I'm fairly certain that it's right now gonna come into Count for Count's hands, because Earth doesn't need another TC, as he's doing pretty much well as he can. And we are seeing a bit of an attempt on the water as well from Earth, as he's just now putting Brenos to 0 TCs, and going to be continuing, of course, with the remaining players as well, as he has already killed the one from Kimo also. So this is just inevitable, as Count for Count is also spending a few resources through water battles, trying to get rid of all the TCs from the water also. Yep, nicely played by him. So Kimo being dropped to 1 TC pretty soon, as even though they are pushing forward in here, exactly as expected, because Earth's units are basically not strong enough as opposed to the opponent ones. So they are already champions and baseline of upgrades, they are just not strong enough for Elephant not having all that many upgrades on him, not even full heavy. Whereas Siret is having heavy Turmas at least baseline, not fully, but still. You can see this is very nicely working for the Jungle Lions, but unfortunately that's probably not going to be it. Because on the right, the TC is coming up for Count, and he is inevitably coming closer and absolutely killing all the citizens all across the map in here. So yep, it's basically responding in kind to the Nidhogg raiding on him, and he is having much better fun of it than what Arafan did have. Oh man, this was pretty brutal, and we are seeing right now the resigns as Kimo, Perenos and Arafan are resigning. They are, right now, admitting defeat in this match, and that means that Spotty or One Out are advancing into the finals of the Frozen Times tournament 3-0. So pretty great games, all 3 of them, and definitely expecting very tight finals between Spotty or One Out and their opponents from the Scraps. This was actually very back and forth. Very back and forth. First advantage right now from JSS, from Tito's huge army, which was countered by very brutal pest, or rather trap pest. Let's check. Trap. Very brutal trap of the army. That was just basically by itself turning the game around in there, allowing the Jungle Lions to advance as far as this position and assaulting Earth's TC. But then, extra TCs from Earth and advances into the next ages basically allowed to somehow stay alive for JSS, and they were able to push back, especially through the very nice attempts on the right side, which is basically just a mistake of the Jungle Lions, because they weren't paying any attention at all to the back TCs, and they paid for it dearly, as their opponent stole it, and they had to spend resources and armies and everything overall to get rid of them, and they weren't even able to retake them for their side. If they had them, the game might have been a whole lot different. And also, of course, you mustn't forget the fights on the water, as there was a huge advantage to be had for Spotty or One Out, because of course they were from the very start of the game fighting for it through count for count, and it resulted in basically siege of the TCs on the little islands. So let's check the post game. Earth, well, yeah, he had the most TCs, but overall probably Arafan was playing nicely in his game. I kind of like it, liked how he played. It was very important in the game, and the reason why it wasn't all that easy for JSS to win, I'm thinking. But Kivo also wasn't half bad with the Oranos, or rather Kronos. Or Oranos? Or was he? Oranos, yeah. His Oranos wasn't half bad. That has to be said. A few resources sent by Kimo. Who knows into whom? Really sure. Maybe into Arafam, but who knows? Yeah, they're just running away from everybody on the 7 DCs, of course. But otherwise, still pretty decent armies from all of the other players, especially from the Young Lions. They were really in JSS on their toes, and it took them all the efforts to spot the other one out to win this battle. Well, GG.